Welcome back to The Blowout Show. I'm your host, RUBYREUBS. Tonight we're diving into a heated topic that's got everybody talking. Are Latinos removing themselves from hip-hop's legacy by rejecting blackness? Back in the early days, there was unity. Black and Latino communities in the Bronx worked together to build something revolutionary. But today we see a shift. People like Fat Joe are making claims that hip-hop's 50-50, while also distancing themselves from blackness. And in a recent interview, Fat Joe made some controversial comments about foundational Black Americans, FBA, that really highlights this issue. Let's get into it.
RUBYREUBS.
Let's take it back to the South Bronx in the 1970s. Back then, there was no division. Black and Latino communities lived together side by side, faced some of the same struggles and worked together to create hip-hop culture. Puerto Ricans in particular identified themselves as Afro-Latino or even just Black. They saw themselves as part of the same community and part of the same fight. This unity was reflected in hip-hop. DJs, MCs, break dancers, graffiti artists all came together to create the four pillars of the culture. It wasn't about separating by ethnicity or claiming percentages. It was simply about survival and expression. Black and Latino communities weren't just collaborators, they were family. Fast forward to today and we're seeing a very different narrative. In a recent interview, Fat Joe not only claimed that hip-hop was 50-50 Black and Latino, but also made some inflammatory comments about the foundation of Black Americans, or FBA. When asked about FBA, here's what Fat Joe had to say.
These rumors were made by radical Black racists. Let's just say that, okay? It's a group of these guys. So their job is to criticize anybody who don't look like them or who ain't Black American.
Who are these guys?
You want me to say a name? We're going to give them too much clout.
I mean,
the FBA, Foundational Black Authority, whoever the these broke is.
Now let's break that down. First, Fat Joe claimed that he didn't even know what FBA stands for, which, let's be real, he does. He sarcastically referred to it as Foundational Black Authority, when it actually stands for Foundational Black Americans. Then he dismissed them as broke N-words.
Come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
Here's the problem. If Fat Joe has separated himself as Latino and not Black, then why does he feel so comfortable with using the N-word?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It sounds like he wants to distance himself from blackness when it's convenient, but still benefit from the culture and even use language that's deeply tied to the Black experience. This is the exact issue. Conditional blackness. You're Black only when it suits you, but not when it's time to give credit or acknowledge the origins of hip-hop. This is where Fat Joe's argument falls apart. Hip-hop was born out of the Black American experience. It came out of the struggles, resilience, and creativity of Black Americans in the Bronx. Latinos definitely contributed, especially in areas like graffiti and breakdancing. But that contribution came from being part of a unified community that didn't separate itself from blackness.
RUBYREUBS.
If today Latinos want to claim that they're not Black, that there's something entirely separate, then logically they're also separating themselves from the legacy of hip-hop. You can't claim to have co-created a culture rooted in blackness while rejecting your connection to it. It's like saying you're part of the family but then denying the family name. The irony is that back in the 70s, there was no need for this division. Everybody understood the shared struggles and built hip-hop together. But now with people like Fat Joe trying to rewrite the narrative, it's clear that some want to take credit for the culture while distancing themselves from the identity that created it.
Feel like a superstar.
Let's talk about the idea of conditional blackness. Fat Joe's comments show how some people use blackness when it benefits them, but reject it when it doesn't. Using the N-word, for example, is a privilege that comes from identifying with black culture. But if you're going to separate yourself as Latino and not black, then where does the privilege come from? This isn't about gatekeeping. This is about accountability. If you're going to claim a part of hip-hop's legacy, then you have to own the blackness that comes with it. Hip-hop isn't just a genre, it's a culture born out of the black American experience. Rejecting that history is rejecting the foundation of the very thing you're trying to claim.
RUBYREUBS.
So what's the takeaway here? Hip-hop is a culture rooted in blackness, created by black communities with contributions from others who recognize their shared struggles. But if Latinos reject their black roots, they're also removing themselves from the legacy of being one of hip-hop's founding communities. Fat Joe's comments on FBA and his 50-50 claim only highlight this issue. You can't claim the culture without embracing the identity it comes from. So what do you think? Are Latinos removing themselves from hip-hop's legacy by rejecting blackness? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep this conversation going. Oh, and don't forget to check out my latest track, Getting On It. Links in the description. Let's keep this conversation going. Like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to reach 1K subscribers. Let's make it happen. You know what time it is. It's Big RUBYREUBS. I'm your host. It's the Big Blowout Show. Let's go.
RUBYREUBS.
She a bad girl, when she throw it back, I make it tap tap.